My name is Jason Smiley. I live in Milton, Vermont, and I work full-time at Dealer.com as a compliance specialist, and in my spare time, I research the Eddy family.
So, when did your involvement with the Eddy family begin? Like, what sparked your interest in the family?
The primary thing that sparked my interest in the Eddy family was a book by Joe Citro, who is a Burlington author. He still lives in Vermont, but he's moved away from the Burlington area. But he gathered up a bunch of Vermont paranormal stories and folklore, and he did a piece about the Eddy family. And I just always found it fascinating, and that's really what got me started on this path.
So, you started giving presentations. When did you start your lectures and presentations?
I started doing presentations about the Eddy family in April of 2014, and that really came about because I went down to the Chittenden Historical Society and actually went down there to do some research about the Eddy family. And when I went down there, I found out that I pretty much had all the material that they already had, and when they saw what I had, they asked me to come down and do a presentation. So I did a 2-hour presentation for them, and then word started getting around, and I started visiting local historical societies as well as the Vermont Genealogical Society and the Vermont Archaeological Society and a few others.
So, how long did it take you to accumulate like all this information that you have about the family?
It's been really a solid 6 years, I would say. I've known sort of about the Eddy family story since, I would say, the late 80s or early 90s. And then once I started really researching it heavily, which was about 2009, I was involved with some local independent filmmakers and thought it would make a good story, but I really wanted to have the research to back that up.
It'd make a really good story.
Definitely. So I just really started to dig into it. A lot of genealogical records I looked up, land records, and then newspapers and magazines, and really wanted to just find anything that could match what the Eddys said about themselves.
Right. But it's very hard to do the research because you don't really know what exactly is fact. And I know like the legend has been really distorted kind of over time. There's a lot of different stories associated with the family. How do you yourself kind of differentiate fact from fiction and the legend from the reality?
It's tough because, depending on what newspaper article you're reading, if you're reading it from someone who is a believer in the Eddy family, they're going to have sort of their own slant on it.
Oh, definitely.
And then, the skeptics, they all thought they were illusionists or magicians.
Right.
So really, I think the key lies somewhere in the middle and trying to take, different accounts of the same stories and trying to sort of line up what may have been actually going on.
Right. So how many people usually come to your presentations, and where do you do them?
I would say anywhere from 20 to, I've had as many as I think around 75 in Chittenden. It was standing room only there. It was a big crowd. And yeah, it's usually historical societies. I've also done one for a library. And then, the Vermont Genealogical Society, the Vermont Archaeology Society, and there's a couple others. I can't think. Oh, the Vermont State Archives and Records Administration. I just did one down there.
People coming to your presentations, do they already kind of know about the Eddy family, or are a lot of them just they don't know about the family yet? Are they coming to learn or to learn more?
Surprisingly, if I would have guessed, I would have thought more people would have been aware of the Eddy family just because it is a Vermont story.
Right.
And it's kind of been out there. A lot of people have read Joe Citro's books, and there's been articles in Yankee Magazine and Vermont Life. But I would say the majority of the people that attend these presentations have never heard of them, or maybe they've just heard that the Eddy family used to hold seances, but really nothing else. And once in a while, if I'm doing it like in Rutland County, like in Chittenden or Pittsfield, there's a few more people have heard the story, and definitely in Chittenden, everybody knows the story.
Well, it's a very small town.
Yeah, exactly. And and some of them will have their own stories about the family or experiences that have happened to them, and it's a lot of fun to sort of pick up on new things.
Yeah. The people coming to your presentations, are they how do they feel when they leave? Are they believers in the Eddy family, would you say? Or are a lot of them skeptics? Or are they coming for more of like the history?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I think there are definitely a few people who are coming to just learn more about what spiritualism was and what was happening in Vermont with this particular family. But in terms of whether they walk away believers or skeptics, to me, surprisingly, I would say more people walk away believing in the story